I was experiencing a lot of abdominal pain and going to the toilet several times. It was only when the pain became so severe that I couldn't breathe that I went into A&E. That day they didn't know what was wrong, and that led me to December when they put the cameras inside, and then at that stage they realized there was an inflammation that was too big. But they said it's either Crohn's or cancer, and they'd need to give me a CT scan together with the biopsies. And then a few days later, I was told it was stage 4 bowel cancer. And I remember in that precise moment, everything just stopped. It stood still. I didn't know what was ahead of me. And I was given a consent form to begin treatment. And I remember my hands were trembling as I was signing the consent form. So the reaction of my family was, they were devastated. I'm 31 years old. I was living a healthy lifestyle. I was active. I was going to the gym all the time. And then I'm hit with this illness, and yeah, they were shattered. But they all pulled together and were there for me every step of the way. Immediately after my diagnosis, I began chemotherapy. In the space of 1 year, I had 18 cycles, and each cycle lasted 48 hours. I was just knocked out. I couldn't work. Thankfully, after the first set of chemo, it shrunk, and they took out the tumour, but they also took out my colon, a piece of my stomach, and I was left with an ileostomy, which is like a bag that collects my poo. But the chemo continued, but the cancer kept growing. So 1 year after my initial diagnosis, I heard the words, the chemo's not working, the cancer's growing, and there's nothing else we can do for you. But this is where the research comes in. In development was a type of drug, immunotherapy, and the research studies were showing that it works incredibly well for my type of bowel cancer. But the problem was this immunotherapy wasn't on the NHS. One of my friends said, let's fundraise. Incredibly, we raised the money, and I had 1 year of that treatment where the tumours reduced and stabilised. Incredibly, the subsequent scans showed continued benefit, to the point I was cancer-free. The scans showed no evidence of disease. So I'm lucky to be here today. But one of the side effects of the immunotherapy is ulcerative colitis, where the rectum that's inside of me is inflamed, and the symptoms of that is incontinence. I can't always hold substance in, so my poo comes into my ileostomy. So technically there should be nothing that comes out of my rectum, but due to the ulcerative colitis, there's inflammation and there's a buildup of fluid, there's blood, and it sometimes just decides it wants out, and I can't control it, so I have to run to the toilet. I'm grateful and lucky to be here today, and that's ultimately due to two things: the innovation in medicine and the research that goes with it, and then the kindness of humanity. So I have no regrets with having the ileostomy, but I've had a number of occasions where I've just been resigned. So if you're going through a bowel cancer diagnosis, there's a extremely friendly community out there that look out for each other, which you can find on social media, online. Talking about bowel-related conditions, talking about poo, talking about incontinence, it's not something that comes naturally. We generally try to avoid talking about health issues, but it's so important to do so because suffering in silence just compounds the pain. We know early detection saves lives.